Hey, welcome. My name is Rachel Smith, and this is the Natural Health Rising podcast. I am a certified functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and the owner of Natural Health Rising, which is my online holistic functional medicine company where I help people who have autoimmune diseases, chronic illnesses, mystery symptoms, and a whole host of other imbalances restore their health by natural means. On this podcast, you're going to hear conversations between myself and other health experts on functional medicine and general holistic health. My goal is to provide you with the tools you need in order to help you rise to your healthiest and happiest self.
So in this episode, I have Ricky Brandon with me. Ricky is a health and wellness advocate. He and his wife, Candy, started hormone balance centers because they could not find the high level of care they desired for their own family. After years of searching, thousands of hours in training, research, trial and error, he finally landed on the process and systems that mixes traditional medicine with alternative medicine and helps people feel great again and live younger and longer with natural hormone replacement therapy. Welcome to the show, Ricky.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here. I've been listening to your podcasts and man, you're awesome.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
So, I haven't been a long time, a fairly new listener, but from what I hear, you're really helping people and I'm happy to be a part of that. So
that feels good to hear. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to have you on because I know you have a lot of value to provide to everyone. And I would love to start by having you tell us the story of what was happening in your family's life when you guys could not find the care that you were looking for.
Yeah, sure. So kind of two stories rolled into one, my own story and my wife's story. Now, I married up. My wife is way smarter than me. She's a molecular biologist. And she worked, actually, when we got married, she worked at a genetics lab doing cancer marker testing. So basically predicting if you're going to have cancer or not. And she has, thank you letters from people who she helped, like they didn't know they had ovarian cancer and they got tested and and then when they finally go to have their ovaries out because they were done having kids, they found cancer all over. And so she's way smarter than me. But when we started having kids, that took its toll on her. She's a superwoman. In fact, we're not anti-doctor in any way, but we, through the process of having our first child, we ended up quite accidentally having our children at home with a midwife. And not because like some people do that because they just hate hospitals and hate doctors, right? That wasn't our story. Our story was that we went to both. I had just read that midwives give fantastic prenatal care. And so we were doing a doctor and midwife. And through the process, I figured out that the midwife had actually delivered more babies than the doctor. And when I would ask the doctor a question, he'd say, don't worry about it. That's for me to worry about. And then I would ask the midwife a question. My wife and I would go in for a midwife appointment. We'd ask a question. And 40 minutes later, we went away feeling so like the fear was gone because there was education there. And so that's why we leaned that direction. So we had 4 kids at home, and the last kid had problems, and he ended up in the NICU. And I remember my wife going into a depression, kind of, not full blown postpartum, but she was beating herself up because she thought if I was healthier, if I was whatever, maybe this wouldn't have happened. He was full term, but he ended up, needing some help, and he was in there for about a month. Now we get going good. She's depressed and not doing well. She doesn't want to get up in the mornings. She's just coddling that baby and kind of beating herself up. And I would get to the point where I would even on my way home from work, pull off to the side of the road and even pray and cry a little bit because I've got 3 other kids and boy, she's just not getting better. And so one day we have a conversation and I just flat out ask, are you depressed? And she says, maybe. So then we start approaching that. A couple years down the road, I come home one day, she's sitting on the couch and she just looks at me and she says, Ricky, I am so thirsty, but I don't even feel like getting up off the couch to get a drink of water. Will you get me a drink of water? I go, uh-oh, something's wrong here. I had actually been working for a hormone doctor, helping him with all kinds of things, mostly his marketing. And I said, let's go see Dr. Jones. She goes, no, I don't want to bother him. You work for him. I don't want to open, this thing that I've since learned that women need to become master negotiators for their own health. It is hard to get help. So she goes to the regular doctor and she says, I think I'm off. And basically they say her iron's low and give her an iron supplement and send her out the door. She's so exhausted. She's putting on weight. Now, we're not vain people, but the weight has health implications. And she can't get up in the morning. I'm getting the kids off to school every morning because she just can't get up. It's not just, things are out of whack. And she's one of those people that just will never take care of herself, right? It's always everyone else first, the kids first, you first, everyone first. And finally we decided, oh, we're going to go on this health path. We're going to really start working out and exercising and get our health in shape. She's working like crazy. I'm having great results. And the health trainer we hired said, Candy, have you ever had your hormones checked? And I'm like, you can't be a prophet in your own backyard, right? And so she finally turns to me and she says, okay, let's call Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones meet with her and he gets her labs and he says, I don't know how you're even standing up. Your ferritin is so low, your iron, right? You're so anemic. And she goes, well, I take a supplement. And he says, what are you taking? That's the wrong supplement. Here, take this supplement. And I want you to take this enzyme with it. And I want you to take it on this schedule. And all of a sudden her energy starts coming back. Then he puts her on progesterone. She wasn't, she went to the regular doctor and had her progesterone checked. First, we had to fight with him to even check it. And then he says, nah, you're in normal range. Or you're normal for your age. How many of you have heard that? I mean, your levels are normal. I've since learned that range is so wide and so varied that it's like saying to someone who's not quite in poverty. Let's say, I don't know what the poverty level number is, but let's say it's $20,000 a year. You make $20,500. So they say, you're not quite in poverty yet. Let's wait till you're in total poverty. Then we'll get you a better job. That's what it's like with these hormone levels. These ranges are made by insurance companies. They're not made because that's the healthy range. Somebody made it because it makes them money to have it that range. They're not too many people are going to die, and more people are going to save us money. In fact, I got a colonoscopy once. I'm that age. I'm 50. So my blood pressure changed, when I'm coming out of the anesthesia, and I get in this conversation about blood pressure with the medical assistant, because that's what I do, right? I talk about this stuff. And she said, do you know they're going to change the blood pressure range? They're considering moving it up 5 points. And I go, 5 points? Why? I mean, I know why, but she goes, I don't know. They just kind of discovered that you don't need the medication in that range. Someone got their calculator out and figured out, yeah, you don't really die until you get maybe 6, 7, 8 points, 10 points above this range. So if we widen it, we're going to save this much money on blood pressure medication that we're not going to have to cover anymore. That same thing is happening with hormone levels. The testosterone level has been changing for years, and now it's almost so low that, I mean, people are chronic by the time they get. Anyway, so back to my wife's story. We get her on progesterone because she was estrogen dominant, which was helping her hold on to weight. She wasn't sleeping well at night. She was on a thyroid medication because she had a partial part of her thyroid removed. And thank goodness it wasn't cancer. That happened during one of our kids' births. And so he immediately doubled her thyroid, gave her the right iron supplement, got her on progesterone. And the first week, she lost 2 pounds without changing anything else. She was sleeping better and woke up in the morning to help me get the kids off to school. This was amazing to me. And she turned to me when she stepped on the scale. Now, 2 pounds doesn't seem like a lot, but it was a lot for her when she had been working so hard and nothing was changing. And she turned to me almost in tears and she said, "Ricky, if that was it, if it was that simple, I'm going to be so mad." She was so happy, but also so mad at the doctors. We went to doctor after doctor, and they just told her, everything looks normal. But you go away feeling, I don't feel normal. Something's wrong. This is not me. It's not that I'm lazy. It's not I can't help it. Something's out of whack. And I think women more than men know that. They just know. And so my first drop of wisdom here is follow your intuition. You're not crazy. If you're going to the doctor and the doctor says, your labs look normal, that's the problem with labs, is knowing how to interpret them. And too many doctors are treating the labs and not the person. We do labs to get a starting point here at Hormone Balance Centers. But after that, we treat the person. And almost every meeting is going to be, how do you feel? What happened? How's your sleep? And then we start adjusting off of that. So my wife is thriving now. It's been years. She's lost a ton of weight. She has energy. She outdoes me now and gets up in the morning and everything is in order. I am scared. I am terrified to think, what if we hadn't found the right doctor? And that's why we do this. I can't believe how many people come into our clinic, and they are people that go to their regular checkups every 6 months, and they come in and we find out they're diabetic, or we find out they have Hashimoto's. And they say, why didn't I go to the doctor? Why didn't he tell me this? And he simply didn't run the right tests because they're, quote, not covered by your insurance. And we've got to get out of that mindset that if it's covered by insurance, then that means healthy. You have got, look, it's not that much money to do self-pay and get good care. This is my next warning, right? My next warning is, be careful of predator marketers that are selling some one-size-fits-all program to fix everything for you. There's just, you're sick and you're tired and you want it fixed, and someone's going to say, I'll fix it for this much money. But if you don't know what they're doing, if you don't understand, and they don't have the heart of a teacher teaching you about all of it, then be patient and keep looking. Follow your gut. You know if someone's trying to fleece you. And you also know when your doctor doesn't know. And don't let him talk you into thinking you're crazy, and don't let him put you on an antidepressant. Because so much of this is hormone related, nutrition related. And when you get that back on track, you won't be depressed anymore. I'm going to go a little longer and then I'll be quiet and you can ask a question. I'm going to tell my story now.
Okay.
I was low on testosterone. My doctor wouldn't tell me that. Dr. Jones tested me and he says, your testosterone is in the basement. So he puts me on a testosterone cream. I was so depressed, I didn't want to go to work. I was grouchy with my kids. Now, some people think, oh, if you get testosterone, you're going to have roid rage and you're going to be angry and you're going to be set off like that. Just the opposite was true to me. I was running on so little that I was grouchy. I was on my last nerve all the time because it took everything I had just to get through the day. So he gets me on this testosterone cream. It took about 2 months. I started feeling better. I started feeling like getting up and going to work. I actually gave away one of my businesses. I didn't even sell it. I gave it away to the partners because I just couldn't deal with it. I didn't feel like doing hobbies. I didn't feel like doing any exercise. It just wiped me out. And then he taught me about testosterone and how it gives you your drive, not just sex drive. It gives you your drive to do anything, to do hobbies, to pursue things. And so then I go to my regular doctor. And of course, they ask you for your checkup, what are you on? And I tell him testosterone. He goes, where'd you get that? And I say, I go to a hormone doctor. And he says, those guys are all quacks. He says, I'll test you. And I'm arguing with him, right? I go, man, I was depressed. I was ready to give up. The next step for me was antidepressants, and nobody wants to be on those. And so he says, okay, I'll test you. And if you're low, I'll keep you on it. Oh, thank you, doctor. Right. And so he tests me. And guess what? On the cream, I was still clinically low. I was that low that I still was below the range. So he moved me to an injection. Changed my life. And then I went back to Dr. Jones. And because, he was a friend, right? We didn't visit that much, and he was just helping me for free. And I worked for him. And so then I started pushing it more. Dr. Jones even upped the dose again and changed my life. I don't know where I would be. I would probably be on antidepressants. I'd probably be not doing anything ambitious. And that testosterone changed my life, just like progesterone, thyroid, and the right kind of iron supplements changed my wife's life. Now she's on a little bit of testosterone. Believe it or not, women need testosterone. Mm-hmm. They don't need very much, so little compared to men. Men also need estrogen. If you don't, you're going to have creaky, achy joints if you're all out of whack. And there's so many things you can do to get it back on track. And look, people are afraid of hormones for some reason. I know the reason. And if you want me to later, I'll tell you the story of why they're so afraid of hormones. But if hormones were bad, we would take out all women's ovaries at age 30. They did that for a while. Man, they were terrible. They were in terrible shape. Luckily, they've stopped doing that. Hormones are not bad. They're part of essential health. And yeah, you could argue, do you do hormone replacement therapy, or do you just do it all with food and exercise and diet, right? The answer, I say, is yes. Sometimes you have to do both, and it depends on your situation. Mm-hmm. So after going through all this, Dr. Jones retired. I couldn't find anyone that was like him. I went from hormone doctor to hormone doctor and found a lot of people just doing marketing programs, or they went to some weekend seminar for hormones. And so my wife and I decided, gosh, we can do this. I called up Dr. Jones. I said, I'm not a doctor. Can I start a hormone clinic? He says, yeah, just hire the right people. I said, will you help me teach me how to hire the right people, how to spot people who actually care, and then I'll pay for their training. I'll pay for them to go to the right places to learn if they're open-minded. So that's what we did. And we're helping a ton of people. It makes me want to cry. It's not even about the money. I mean, you have to have the money to stay in business. You can't keep giving from an empty cup. Mm-hmm. But it's so rewarding when you have a doctor or a nurse practitioner who used to hate their job. Now they love seeing patients because they're not in emergent care. They're in wellness care, and they're meeting with people who truly need their help. And I set up a situation where they can spend as much time with them as they want. They don't just have to get them out the door and meet some quota. That person is paying for your time. I stopped calling them patients. We call them clients, because I think that patient doctor thing makes you just subservient. I have to do what the doctor says. You're a client. You're paying for this. If you have a question, ask the question. If you need him to explain more, ask him to explain more. I'm sorry, I'm on a rant now. You've got me. I'm all worked up. I don't like these pellets. I don't know if you've seen the hormone pellets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like them either.
Injected.
You want to explain the difference between more synthetic in these other routes versus more natural, and like what that means and the effects of them?
Yeah. Well, the first reason I don't like them is because most people who I've met or on them have no idea what's in them.
Yeah.
So they didn't teach them what's in them. The next is the dosing is like 3 sizes fits all. You're this, this, or this. I've had women come in here with raging hormones and acne. They can't sleep. And they're like, what do? I go, wait 3 months because you can't take it out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how your body's going to react. So we do bioidentical, meaning identical to what your body makes. It's the synthetic stuff that causes cancer. So technically bioidentical hormones are made in a lab, so they are synthetic, right? Someone made them, but they made them to look, if I could show you, I wish I had the picture, I'd bring it up, we'd screen share. It's, let's just talk progesterone. The progesterone that's in like birth control or the other progesterones that are synthetic, right? Anything prescribable that's coming from big pharma. It's called usually medroxyprogesterone acetate. And that means they took progesterone and they added a methyl group and an acetate group, making it into something different that's patentable. And then they can prescribe it and mark it up and make lots of money. Now, does it mimic progesterone? Does it act like progesterone? Yes, but it's not really progesterone. It's what's called a progestin. And it looks nothing like progesterone. If I could show you the picture of the molecules, you'd say, this is from your body. This is bioidentical. They look exactly the same. You can't tell the difference under a microscope. Progesterone that they give you, like I said, in birth control, looks different.
Mm-hmm.
There's these different arms on it, and that's the part that causes the cancer. It was the Women's Health Initiative. That was the big study that came out in around 2000, where everyone was on Premarin or Primpro or Primrose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were feeling great because it got rid of their hot flashes, helped them sleep at night. They were happy, and they're moving along because these hormones that were lacking, right? That took away depression. And everybody was taking it. I mean, there was a huge amount of people on it. Then they did this study that this increases breast cancer when you're on it. And that's where this idea came that all hormones are bad. These were not bioidentical natural hormones. I mean, Premarin, it comes from mare urine. That's what it's female horse urine. That's what they make it from. That might be good for mares. It's not good for people. And so then they made these blanket statements. All the gynecologists that were giving everyone Premarin had to send out these letters that said, yeah, you knew the risks when you signed up. And women were faced with this decision. Do I get all my symptoms back? Or do I maybe get cancer in 15, 20 years? You would be surprised how many women chose to stay on it because they didn't want their hot flashes back and their mood swings back and all of that. It's sad, really, because there is an alternative that was not as profitable, which was bioidentical hormones, which proved to do just the opposite. I mean, they used to do breast cancer surgery. They used to time it with your cycle when progesterone was high because it actually stopped the spread of the cancer. There was a lower chance of the cancer spread because your progesterone was high, and it would almost encase the tumor. It would cause this thing around the tumor that encased it. So they would time those surgeries to remove breast cancer when progesterone was high. Mm-hmm. When women are having hot flashes and when their depression is coming from a low estrogen, why do we give them antidepressants? Shouldn't we give them estrogen and teach them how to raise their estrogen or help their progesterone estrogen balance? So what do we do? What's the protocol? Hey, you're normal for your range. We don't want to give synthetic hormones because those cause cancer. You're too young to be on those. If you're old and you're going to die soon, we'll give them to you. That's kind of the way they think, right? So let's get you on this antidepressant. It'll help. Well, what does that do? Makes them gain weight, throws everything out of whack, makes it worse. It makes it worse. If you're low on progesterone or you're low on estrogen, let's give you bioidentical estrogen or progesterone and teach you how to have a wellness lifestyle so you don't do that. So can I just speak to a second to the difference of why you would need hormone replacement therapy versus just doing lifestyle change?
Yes.
Is that okay if I go on a little rant on that?
Go
Some
for it.
people are like my wife, and they're in such a bad place that if you walked in and they said, you got to start doing this, you got to start exercising, you got to start meal prepping, she couldn't even get off the couch to get a glass of water. And you're going to throw all this at her? She's not going to do it. She can't do it unless she has a partner who's going to do it all for her and just can do that. But we had 4 kids. I couldn't do all that. We needed something to get her feeling great again, to get her over the hump. Now she cooks, we have healthy meals, we exercise, but she couldn't have done that from ground zero. She needed help. She needed help. And bioidenticals were the healthiest way to do that. Man, I feel like, sorry, I took over and I went on a rant. I'm passionate about it. I love it. And I love that people's lives are being changed. Birth control, we never used it. We used condoms. Luckily, I think this is divine intervention. My wife got sick on birth control. And so we never used it because it made her sick. And so we just did it another way. Now, years down the road, I've learned how much birth control messes people up.
Yes.
It really messes with you.
Yes.
And then you're fixing it for a long time after that. Now, I wish we were better like you in our clinic at doing the health and nutrition part. I mean, we say we help you feel great again, and then we help you live a wellness lifestyle. I'm going deep on that right now, right? I want to learn the wellness lifestyle. So Rachel's the best bet for wellness lifestyle. If you need to get over the hump, I can help you do that here at the clinic. But they're both people say, which hormone do I start with? Can I just start with one? No, they all work in sync together. We haven't even talked about stress and cortisol and HPA axis and all of that.
Yeah.
Is all part of it. But my next thing is, don't listen when they say your labs are normal. Find someone who's going to listen to you and treat you and not your labs. Those ranges are huge. It's like, on the freeway, the max is 70 miles an hour. If you go at 20 miles an hour, do you disrupt the flow of everyone else? Yeah, you do. Testosterone range is 300 to 900. If you're 301, you feel like crap, but they say you're normal. Same is true for thyroid. I've seen some people have to be above the range for their T3, T4, and TSH, right? They've had to be higher than the range. That's just the way they work. It's the way I've seen type 2 diabetes reverse with testosterone. I've seen testosterone increase bone density better than any osteoporosis medication. I don't. Where do you want to go now? I've had fun. I ranted. You didn't get a word in edgewise. I'm sorry. My wife says, when I first got married, I told my wife, you don't talk very much. She goes, you don't let me. So I'm sorry if I've taken over, Rachel. I'll be quiet.
No, it's good.
I want to hear what you think of all my rant.
It's so good. Thank you for sharing your stories. Like, this is why I do the podcast and why I always ask the initial question of, hey, tell us your story, because it's so important for people to hear that it's sometimes as simple as seeing the right person and getting a hormone drop or a cream or changing your diet or like getting the right care. And so I thank you for sharing that. And I love that you highlighted like the major difference between how all these doctors you were seeing they weren't giving you any answers or education, which is what I think is one of the biggest issues with conventional medicine as well, which is why like we both, sounds like you and I, we will spend an hour with our clients. When I review labs with people, I sit there for 90 minutes reviewing labs, explaining every marker to a T and explaining why their marker is that way, what the symptoms are presenting from that marker, and how do we fix it, whether that's a supplement, a lifestyle change, whatever. And then people understand, like they feel empowered. Okay, cool. I know what's going on now, and I know how to continue to live this way. And so I just think that that's beautiful. And like, just like you said, if your doctor's not doing that, it's time to find a new doctor or a new practitioner who can actually help you get there. And one thing that you mentioned, you said you realize that people need to become the master negotiators of their own health. I love that. I love the way that you said that. So can you tell us, like, how do people actually advocate for themselves to get the proper labs done, and ask for hormone testing, or like what specifics do they need to even be looking for?
Well, the hard part is that doctors get fatigued with people who are Google doctors, right?
Yes.
They Google it and they come in, I think I've got this. I think I've got, and they hear that all day long. So when you come in and do it, they just plop you into a category of someone who doesn't know. And they also don't have time to be your friend. Like, so I hate to say this, but you got to ask for referrals. You got to find the right doctor, and you might have to pay them yourself, and your insurance might not cover it. But if a doctor has the heart of a teacher, like I had a regular doctor once start drawing on the paper that's on the table, right? And he takes out his marker and he says, here's your thyroid, and here's, and he's drawing this little picture. That's the guy you can talk to. That's the doctor you can talk to. I say guy, but it could be a woman too. Then have a heart to heart. Don't just come at them with, look, I know this and you don't know this and I need this. Nobody wants to fight. Have a conversation and say, man, I just know there's something wrong with my hormones or whatever it is, my thyroid. And I don't know, doc, I've been doing my homework on this, and I've heard that this is how the T3 works with the T4 and the TSH, and maybe could we check my T3 and T4 instead of just my TSH? Because, do it like a negotiator would. A negotiator wouldn't come in with two guns out of the barrel and, say, do it. Or, I mean, if you have the power to do that, I guess that'll get you some results too. But, like my cousin is your boss and he can buy this, whatever. I don't know. But doctors, I think they all got into business because they want to help people. Now they're in situations where they have jobs and quotas, and they're not allowed to talk very long. They're just not allowed to. They got a stack of patients behind you. So you got to work with what you've got. So if you're not in a situation to go hunt around and find a doctor, you got to take what you can get, and you got to know your stuff and not argue with them, but work with them. Find a way to talk with them. Well, doctor, I've heard this. Can you still be the smart guy at the top? I've heard this. Is that true? I've heard this. Is that true? Is there any truth to that? And usually if they've done any homework on it at all, they'll tell you what they think. And you say, well, I'd like to try this. Are you willing to try this with me?
I like that you're saying, I heard this. Is that true? Because you're kind of putting the power back in their hands in a sense of like, hey, I like really value your opinion, instead of saying, well, I think this is the thing that's wrong with me. Right. So you're kind of like you said, having a conversation with them and asking from a different place. I think that's actually really good advice.
I've had doctors be late for their next patient because I'm asking the right questions. So focus on the kind of questions and how you ask them, and let them be in charge. It might take you a couple of appointments to get there where you need to be, but they want to help. They don't love their jobs. I find that's how I'm able to hire them. look, when you work for me, you get to spend an hour with them. And they're like, what? At first they're looking at their watch like, I can't spend this much time, right?
Right.
But if they're the right person, I mean, they all went into medicine for a reason, and they're all frustrated that they don't get to practice it in the way they want.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're stuck, kind of.
Yeah. So what are some of the most common symptoms that people should be aware of, where they should stop and say, hey, like something's off. I should really check my hormone levels.
Yeah. Sleep is a big one. If you either can't fall asleep or you wake up and then your mind is racing, right? That could be progesterone, could be thyroid, but usually it's progesterone and you're estrogen dominant. The hot flashes that, you think you're going into menopause. So many people are having those menopause symptoms earlier and earlier because your hormones are out of whack and you're estrogen dominant. You don't have to have that stuff. Like, women come in here in full-blown menopause, and within a week, they're like, where have you been all my life? Right? And it's totally safe and healthy. You can live a high quality of life for the rest of your life, for most of your life. It doesn't, who wants to live in low normal? I don't know. I don't want to live in low normal. You're tired all the time. You sit down to read a book or watch a movie and you just fall asleep. You can't make it through. You read through one page of the book, you're falling asleep. This is usually thyroid and iron. Usually, I say usually, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not able to lose weight, anxiety, and some depression. You would be amazed at how progesterone calms anxiety when you get that progesterone estrogen balanced right. Your hair is brittle. The back of your heels of your feet are dry and cracked. That's usually thyroid.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you stand up and you get dizzy. You feel like you're going to pass out. That's going to be your adrenals and your cortisol. There's one test we used to do before we did actual cortisol testing, is you'd take someone's blood pressure, then have them stand up and take their blood pressure again. Your blood pressure should go up. Some people's blood pressure goes down because their adrenals don't kick in to get that heart pumping to push the blood up to the brain, because now you stood up. That's what it's supposed to do. So if you're standing up and you get dizzy, your adrenals are probably shot or on the way to shot, right?
Yeah, it sounds like you had something to say about that. Do you want to speak a little bit more on adrenal testing and speak more on that for a little bit?
Sure. A lot of people will do a cortisol serum test, like just a blood test.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but it's a picture in that moment right now. It doesn't give you a picture of how it goes throughout the day. So there's another test where you do 4, there's multiple points where you're spitting at different times of the day into a test tube and send that off to the lab, and they tell you at this time of day your cortisol is doing this, and at this time it's doing that. And there's something called your HPA axis, and there's tons of great herbs for HPA axis, right? HPA is your hypothalamus, your pituitary, and your adrenals, basically. And there's these great herbs called adaptogen herbs that will, they kind of like, your body's amazing. Your body is really, I don't know of a garden hose you can cut in half and it will heal itself. But your body, if you cut it, it goes to work and heals itself if it has everything it needs. So, and even pain will go away if you have the right puzzle pieces in place for it to build the puzzle. Because the pain is saying, hey, I need attention. I need attention. So if you're giving the right herbs and foods and all of that, then that response calms down because, okay, we've got all the tools we need to fix this. Now my body can go to work fixing this. I mean, I used to work at this herb place called Dr. Christopher's Original Formulas, and they had this fantastic herbal supplement. They were horrible at naming things. They weren't very marketing minded. It was called Bone, Flesh, and Cartilage.
Oh.
But it helped proliferate the cells to grow bone, flesh, or cartilage. I knew this kid, he broke his elbow. He was in tremendous pain. His mom, the bottle says take 2, right? But his mom was soaking his arm in the herbs and in poultices. She was rubbing creams on it with it, tinctures, and she was giving him 40 capsules a day. But this is food. This is whole crafted food, herbs, right? These are not prescriptions. We don't think of doing that, but your body knows what to do with foods. And his pain went away. It didn't completely go away, but it went away and he healed really fast. I mean, not like the next day, but the doctors were impressed that he healed weeks early and he didn't need the pain meds because his body had everything it needed to do the work that it needed to do. It wasn't screaming at him, hey, I need something here. I need something here. Now he took care of it and babied it and it healed faster. This is the idea that Mother Nature kind of will provide what you need. Your body knows how to heal itself if you give it everything it needs. If it has all those tools, it can go to work and heal itself. These HPA adaptogen herbs, they're amazing. They'll regulate up or down. They'll help your cortisol go up or down. They'll help, other stress hormones go up or down. Just because they have you're now providing your body with all the tools it needs to deal with that. Now, can you fix everything with the herb or the hormones or the supplement? No, your lifestyle needs to change. There's stressors in your life that caused this to happen. How do your hormones get out of balance? 99% of the time, it's stress. We think of stress as our job. It's not just that. It's relationships, it's emotion, it's foods, it's toxins, it's lifestyle. All of those things are messing with your system. And that stress, not just I have a stressful job, we kind of praise that nowadays. Oh, you're you're grinding, right? You're out hustling, and we praise it now, and we don't get enough sleep. Sleep is so important. Sleep is so important. And you think you're doing something good, staying up late, getting up early, working on all this stuff. Well, your body will let you wake up when you're supposed to wake up. If you have everything you need, you're living a wellness lifestyle. So yeah, these adaptogen herbs are great and they'll help you get on track, but you gotta figure out what's causing it. You're making choices that are causing it. Hopefully there are choices within your control. Sometimes, we live in a world that I think it's almost impossible to live a perfectly clean diet. And sometimes the thought of that is stressful. Trying to do, okay, I did I weighed my food, I did all of this, and that causes some people stress. For some people, depending on the client, I think let's throw all that counting and everything out the window. Just do something. Count sweeping your porch as exercise. Start making those kinds of choices. You don't have to go to the gym and exercise in a perfect way. Sometimes the thought of what a perfect set of muscle building or exercise is stressful just to think about doing it right. Some people's personality, that causes them stress. Just move more. Start doing little things. Start moving towards a wellness lifestyle. Start eating real food instead of packaged foods. Who cares about your macros at first? And get feeling better. Start feeling, let yourself, this sounds dumb. I'm going to say, let it be easy.
Yeah.
Let it be easy. We make it so hard, but you have to start somewhere. Praise yourself for starting and let it be easy. Don't beat yourself up for not being having a perfect diet. Start moving towards wellness and let it be easy.
I love that. I love that. So this actually just happened this morning. I was replying to a client message and she said she had Thanksgiving early as the time where we're recording. This Thursday's Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
And she did it on Sunday. And she's, she's on a specific meal plan and stuff with me. I don't have clients count macros or calories either. It's just like eat anti-inflammatory, like don't overcomplicate it. But she had a couple of bites of pie on accident, I guess. She was like serving the pie.
That happens to me all the time.
And then she started eating it and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm not supposed to be eating this thing. It has gluten and sugar and all this stuff in it.
Yeah.
And she beat herself up about it. She was like, I feel so bad. Like I'm upset with myself. And I said, you know what? Don't do that. Like if that happens to you, enjoy that moment that you're having. Like be like, you know what? It's Thanksgiving. I had a couple bites of this thing. I really enjoyed it. And I'm going to allow myself to have this moment. And then tomorrow is a brand new day where I can make brand new choices all over again. Because those stress that you're triggering in your body when you're thinking of these negative things, you're beating yourself up over not doing everything perfectly, that then stimulates your cortisol levels and your stress and contributes to this HPA axis dysfunction that you're talking about. And so I just love that what you said of like, do the things like work towards wellness and make it easy and kind of like take it step by step and start reframing. I love that you said like sweeping the porch. Okay, I worked out because I swept the porch. And sometimes another thing that I think is important with why people would even want to do this kind of testing you're talking about, like checking your cortisol 4 times throughout the day, looking at all your hormones, is if your body is totally depleted in cortisol and progesterone and testosterone, you probably shouldn't be going and doing a CrossFit workout or lifting for an hour and a half in the gym. Like this is actually where you should be giving yourself a little bit more grace and just doing those lighter movements and working up towards those things as you change lifestyle, maybe take some hormone, not synthetic, bioidentical hormones and those things as your body repairs. So that's just another point as to why I think that kind of testing is really important.
There's something that happens when you see the labs.
Yeah.
And it's validating and you go, and you have someone help you interpret the labs correctly. They don't just say, oh, I looked at your labs and everything looks normal. No, I looked at your labs and boy, you're really low. You're not clinically low, but you're almost clinically low in this. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm validated. I'm not crazy. There's a reason I feel this way. And that's empowering. That's empowering to help you be committed to the change.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I agree. It's such a relief for people because, when you're going to conventional doctors, like you said, you're getting these normal, quote unquote, lab results and you never have an answer. But then finally you talk to somebody like people on your team or me, and we're like, oh no, like there's definitely something off here. Like 100%, we know exactly why you feel this way. And then people just feel like, they're like, oh my gosh, finally, like I finally feel heard. I feel understood. I know what's going on. And that is, I think, a great catalyst for people to finally start making the right changes too.
How many times have you had someone come sit with you and they start crying?
Oh, all the time.
How many times do they think you have some kind of crystal ball or you're psychic because you can predict how they feel?
Yes, absolutely.
There's a reason you feel this way. And you just got to find the right teacher, the right person to help you get over that hump. And then you got to own it yourself after that. Still use your advisors, but you have to own your own health. Nobody else is going to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
You pay experts to help you start down that path and get on that path, but then you own it. Ask questions. Don't just take everything at face value, and don't follow. Look, you know when something is a magic pill, fix all silver bullet that can't be true. If it sounds like it can't be true, it can't. This is a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get your health on track, but it's worth it. I'm a better father. I'm a better husband. I am going to be a better grandparent when that time comes. You ever seen those people? My mother-in-law is 72 years old, and she runs circles around other people I know who are 72 years old. You look at them both and you're like, that's an old lady and that's not. They're the same age. Same is true with men. I know many men who are getting younger as they get older. It's amazing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with where they do literally become different parents, partners, different people at work because they finally get their health on track, and they just don't even recognize themselves. And
you show up different.
Yeah. And I don't believe in this whole like your health deteriorates when you age thing. I believe that you should never tell yourself you're old, because that actually does have there are studies showing that when you tell yourself, oh, I'm getting old, I'm getting old, I'm getting old, like what you tell yourself actually impacts your physical health. So I tell people like, no, just continue to work on your health and you will get, honestly, like you can feel younger and younger as you age and still have like that vibrant young spirit. And you don't have to be that person. You can be that person at 70 who is running circles around everyone, like you're saying. So,
amen. I agree with you. It's like, do your hormone levels lower because you age, or do you age because your hormone levels are lower?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I tend to think it's the opposite. You age because everything's out of whack. Everything didn't get out of whack because you aged.
Yep.
They got out of whack because of bad lifestyle. And now you're paying the price with your age.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this is a good place to stop, but I want to ask one more question, which is if you could leave the listeners with one tip that they could implement into their lives this week to help them live a healthier, happier life, what would that be?
Oh boy, that's a big question. Like I'm gonna do a shameless plug, and I'm gonna say, go grab my book. It's free. It's called "Do Your Hormones Have You Dragging, Sagging, and Nagging?"
Okay.
And this thing is loaded with tips. I've done tons of homework for you, and you just go to freehormonebook.com, put your email address and download it. It has an audio book there too. That's also free. So freehormonebook.com. That's a shameless plug. I know it sounds terrible, but I can just go on. The big tip is be your own advocate and follow your gut. That's learn how to ask the right questions. When someone's telling you something that's bullcrap. Follow your gut. You're smarter than you think. You have intuition for a reason. And yeah, that's my tip. Follow what your heart says. It's going to lead you to the right people, and you're going to know who's just trying to get money out of you, and you're going to know who is a teacher and wants to help you. And this book is loaded with stories that will help you kind of recognize that intuition.
I know that's a great tip. And we'll put that link in the show notes as well, so everyone could just go and click that right away. And then do you have any final words, or do you want to share like where people could find you, or if they want to work with you guys?
It's Hormone Balance Centers with an S, so it's plural. Hormonebalancecenters.com. The way we do it is you get your labs and you sit down with someone, even Zoom. We even do telemedicine all over the country.
Oh.
And you go through your labs line by line. And after that, you have a plan and you can move forward or do it on your own or whatever. And most insurance will cover all the labs. There's a few that they won't cover. And depending how bad off you are, sometimes we'll get rid of those labs and just kind of guess on them, because it's like D3. I can pretty much guess everybody needs to get their vitamin D up. But for some reason, your insurance won't pay for a vitamin D test, because they already know everybody needs vitamin D, right? But yeah, so we do the labs, sit with you for an hour, and it's at hormonebalancecenters.com. You can go there. I don't spend as much time fixing my website as I should, but there is an online test there that you can take, kind of going through your symptoms, and it'll kick you back an email saying, yeah, this might be high, this might be low. Does that help?
I love that. Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, this was awesome, Rachel. Thank you. And I hope somebody out there hears this and begins advocating for their own health and gets better.
I hope so too. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thanks for watching the episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure that you like the video and leave a comment and share it with a friend who really needs to hear it. Because when you share this information, you're also gonna help other people level up their health. And if you or somebody else you know wants to work on their health and they're looking for a functional medicine practitioner, feel free to reach out to me to apply to work together. Thanks for watching, and keep striving to become your healthiest, happiest self.